Barron's starts April 24 on ABC or log into ABC iView.
The government splashes cash for local oil refineries while Labor puts job seeker reform on ice.
You can't repair all of the damage or do everything that you want to do.
For the first time, the US president accuses Russia of genocide in the Ukraine. Travel chaos delays at airports expected to get worse as the Easter rush gets underway. And world surfing champion Stephanie Gilmore through to the quarterfinals at Bells. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Elias. Day 3 of the election campaign, and Labor leader Anthony Albanese has promised to provide relief for overworked hospital emergency departments. And while the coalition turned its attention to the nation's fuel security, one of the Prime Minister's captain's picks has come back to bite him. Here's political editor Andrew Probyn.
After a couple of difficult days, Labor's switching its campaign to friendlier territory, in spite of the odd hazard. Anthony Albanese promising to take the pressure off hospital emergency departments.
Our aim is to build it back better.
$135 million to turn 50 GP surgeries into 7-day-a-week urgent care clinics, reworking pledges from Bill Shorten and Kevin Rudd before him.
This is a very different promise and a very different commitment. This has been fully costed by the Parliamentary Budget Office.
But Labor won't now be costing or reviewing an increase to the job seeker payment should it form government.
We haven't dumped anything. What we've said is we don't have a plan to increase the job seeker allowance in our first budget.
It means the $46 a day payment will remain unchanged regardless of who wins on May 21.
Debt's heading towards $1 trillion. Whereby you can't repair all of the damage or do everything that you want to do immediately.
And what do I do now? Whoa.
The Prime Minister's continuing to spruik job creation under the coalition, but it turns out his host yesterday, hot water systems company Rheem, is cutting jobs and moving more of its operations to Vietnam.
What you've referred to were voluntary redundancies. Companies like Rheem are investing in Australia.
Oil companies to share $250 million from taxpayers to upgrade refineries in Geelong and Brisbane, provided the companies match the investment.
Fuel security very much at its heart.
But the PM's facing fallout from one of his pre-selection captain's picks in his home state of New South Wales. Late last year, Liberal candidate for Warringah, Catherine Deeves, described trans kids as surgically mutilated and sterilised in now deleted social media posts.
She has withdrawn and apologised for those views.
There's a reason why the Liberal Party's 2019 election review recommended candidates be selected up to 12 months before polling day. Proper vetting helps avoid unwanted embarrassment during a campaign. But given the fact that Scott Morrison and his numbers man Alex Hawke have contributed to the dysfunction inside the New South Wales branch, the Prime Minister only has himself to blame, and he'll have to cop the consequence. Andrew Probyn, ABC News, Canberra.
After quitting the Liberal National Party just last week, Rebel Queensland MP George Christensen has joined One Nation to run for a Senate position. As number 3 on the Senate ticket, he has little chance of winning a spot, but the move means he's now eligible to pocket more than $100,000 extra in allowances.
They say a week is a long time in politics.
I've terminated my LNP membership, I've joined One Nation, and now I'm here.
George Christensen was due to retire this election after serving as the member for Dawson in central Queensland since 2010. But he's had a change of heart and will now run as 3rd on the One Nation Senate ticket behind Pauline Hanson and former Adani executive Raj Guruswamy. An unwinnable position, and he knows it.
If the only job that I do is helping Pauline get back in there in the Senate and maybe bringing a friend along with her, in Raj Guruswamy, then that's a job done.
There's no chance that George Christensen can get elected to the Senate from third position on the One Nation ticket. He'd need One Nation to get well in excess of 30% of the vote, and that's more than twice they've ever achieved in the past.
But the party leader disagrees.
Sorry, no, it's not about no. It's about the fact is, if the Libs could win 3 seats the last election, don't underestimate the support of One Nation.
MPs who contest elections and lose get more money than those who retire. By doing this, Mr Christensen will be eligible for a resettlement allowance. It's worth 6 months' pay, which is about $105,000. But he says that's not behind his decision to run.
No.
A vocal critic of vaccine mandates and Scott Morrison's decision to adopt a net zero climate target, the rogue MP has some parting words for the LNP.
I'm afraid to say that I think now that it's beyond repair.
Louisa Redgetts, ABC News.
Russia claims more than 1,000 Marines defending the city of Mariupol have surrendered. The Ukrainian military has not confirmed the report. It's believed another Ukrainian battalion is still defending the city. The fall of Mariupol would be Russia's biggest victory in this war so far, linking its eastern gains to the coastline. For the first time, Joe Biden has described Russia's attack on Ukraine as genocide, accusing Vladimir Putin of trying to wipe out the Ukrainian people. The ABC's Sean Rubenstein-Dunlop has been speaking with residents in the city of Chernihiv, where evidence is mounting of Russia's brutal attacks on civilians.
Across Chernihiv, families queue all day for food. Ordinary children are now paupers. After 5 weeks hiding underground in hunger, it's finally safe to come out.
When Chernihiv was surrounded, there was no bread and water. We had to go to the well and queue for the bread for hours.
This city was under siege and relentless bombardment, with no power, light or running water. Russian forces have retreated now to target Ukraine's east, but here some still live in bomb shelters. The attacks destroyed their homes, as well as schools, hospitals, water and gas facilities, killing civilians with brutal tactics honed in Syria and Chechnya. Dr. Vladislav Kuchar shows us the damage to the region's biggest hospital. The emergency department was destroyed.
The hospital was shaking. Patients were screaming. Despite the direct risk to their lives, the doctors didn't leave.
Civilians with devastating injuries still pile into these outdated wards. Valentin Osupenko has burns and shattered bones. He says his house was hit with cluster bombs, which caused random carnage and are banned by the UN.
We were finishing our dinner and were about to go to the bomb shelter. Suddenly a plane appeared and dropped cluster bombs on us. As I was falling, I shielded my 17-year-old son with my body. His godfather died in the attack.
I don't understand it. We had no significant infrastructure or military units around. I believe they were targeting civilians.
More than 100 health facilities have been attacked in Ukraine.
The destruction across this city is just staggering. It's as though the middle of this hotel was carved out by some kind of giant wrecking ball. It's hard to understand the purpose of all these attacks on civilians other than an attempt to brutalise this country into submission.
We have lost our future in this war. We've lost our health, our house, our car, everything we had. We had a very good life. We can't bring it back.
Those who lost their lives are now in makeshift graveyards. There's no room in morgues and cemeteries. And as Russia moves to take Ukraine's southeast, more atrocities are mounting by the day. Sean Rubenstein-Dunlop, ABC News, Chernihiv.
The family of a teenage ride operator killed at the Sydney Royal Easter Show has revealed he was on the cusp of having his dream come true. The 17-year-old was stabbed to death during a violent brawl between so-called postcode gangs. The main show rides have been reopened with tighter security.
As the carnival reopened,
it's a crazy spinning roller coaster.
There was an unexpected announcement about the ride operator killed on his break from his girlfriend's sister. My beautiful sister has been blessed with his baby. Can't wait to meet you. A little boy who will grow up without his father. Last night he was remembered at a candlelit vigil by his loved ones and by his school. Our thoughts and heartfelt sympathy are with the family and friends who've been impacted by the sudden passing of a young person within our community. The 17-year-old found himself in the middle of a violent brawl between rival gangs, one from Doonside, the other from Mount Druitt in Western Sydney.